The AER 2020 Spring Committee Plenaries were to take place in Covasna County, Romania on March 11th and 12th. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our meetings were canceled. The overarching theme of these committee plenaries would have been the territorial approaches to regional development and specifically on the urban-rural divide within the regions. Today we will be joined by MEP Iuliu Winkler to discuss connectivity and infrastructure in Europe.
So first of all, about myself, I am a member of the European Parliament since my home country, Romania, joined the European Union. So that was in 2007. I am working in the European Parliament with trade issues. I'm the vice chair of the International Trade Committee, but also with regional development issues, with ethnic minorities, because I belong to the ethnic Hungarian minority in Romania. We are a community which numbers more than 1 million members, 1.2 million Hungarians in Romania. This is 6.5% of the total population of Romania. Also, Covasna, if the meeting had not been cancelled, you could have, and all our guests and friends could have the possibility to to meet a region in which we Hungarians are in a local majority. There are two such regions, Covasna and Harghita counties in Romania, in the middle of Romania, which are inhabited in majority by Hungarians. Well, about connectivity, you asked me about connectivity, and I would like to speak in two senses of this term. The infrastructural connectivity, but also what we call now globally the soft connectivity. Are we connected to the European Union with our institutions, with our mentalities, with our rules and regulations? Of course, infrastructure connectivity, we know very well what it means. It is about transportation, it is about roads, it is about railroad, and so on. And I would characterize our region. The broader region is Transylvania. This is the western part of Romania, which has a total of 16 counties. It's something like 1/3 of Romanian territory, and also more or less 1/3 of Romania's population. It is located in the central and western part of Romania, so we are at the crossroads of Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Balkans. And this was a very specific situation also in the past, in which this belonging to more or less Central and Eastern Europe was very important for Transylvania. Then infrastructure, of course, we have developed some infrastructure in the last 10 to 15 years, but we are still very, very far to our needs. So if you imagine a map of Europe and you compare the region of Amsterdam or Rotterdam or Belgium with the region of Hungary or Romania or Bulgaria, you remember that the density of highways, the density of roads and railroads is totally different between East and Western Europe. And our aim, our goal is that we develop our infrastructure. There are many, many plans to develop infrastructure. And also,
what are some challenges to better infrastructure and connectivity in Romania?
There are many difficulties. Some of them arise from the geographical particularities of Romania as a country, and also some of them arise, some of difficulties arise from the administrative structure of Romania and our administrative capacity to plan, to finance huge investments. About geographic issues, if you remember a little bit the map of Romania, you remember that the Carpathian Mountains are dividing the country in two parts, and basically the Carpathian Mountains are the border of Transylvania. So connection between regions of Romania, for example, are not so very good. We don't have a highway to connect the eastern part and the western part of Romania. We don't have a highway to connect south with north in Romania. And those highways are also very important, and there are projects, but still we are. Also, the other set of problems is arising from our administrative capacity. Romania is a very centralized country, and decisions are made at national level when we compare national decision-making level to local authority decision-making level, because connectivity is not only about highways. Connectivity is also about roads, about local infrastructure. Connectivity is about internet and communications. We are very well situated in the field of internet speed and internet connectivity. But I would just like that Romania also has so many highways and railroads as it has internet connectivity or communication connectivity. So
You've mentioned both infrastructural and soft connectivity. Could you expand a little bit more on soft connectivity?
my organization, the Democratic Alliance of Hungarians in Romania, we are fighting since our first objective, since 30 years after the change of the regime in 1989 in Romania. We are fighting for decentralization, and we think that the role of regions is exceptionally important also in developing the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, but also in the other sense, and I would like to say a few words about the other connectivity, which is the soft connectivity. Of course, we are integrated with the European Union, but here the COVID crisis showed us that there is so much to do at the level of cooperation inside the European Union. We saw at the beginning of the crisis, in early March, we saw national measures. We saw countries with interdictions in trade. We saw countries deciding the closure of frontiers, of national frontiers, and we saw that there was no solidarity, but was division. And this is also a matter of connectivity in our objectives. It's a matter of solidarity. Also, I told you before that we are in a way at the crossroads between Central Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Balkans. And so it means that if we have, the European Union has these very important projects about enlargement towards the Western Balkans, then it means that the soft connectivity has to be built up also between the European Union and the Western Balkans countries. We have to help them to connect themselves from economic point of view, but also from social and cultural point of view, because like-mindedness is so very important when you speak about a common future. And I am absolutely convinced that the future of the Western Balkans countries is inside the European Union. That will solve many problems. Of course, until then, we have also a lot of work to do.
As Romania increases its infrastructural connectivity, are there strategies in place to ensure climate neutrality by 2050 as per the EU Green Deal, such as the electrification of the transport system?
I think that the future of the automotive industry is a huge question mark. You see that automotive industry is in a huge crisis. It was even before the proposals for the Green Deal, because we had this Dieselgate in Europe and we had so many problems. But I think that also it is very important that we take the right decisions. And if you ask me, which are the right decisions? Those which have a scientific support. So we have to be very careful with science. We have to be very careful, for example, in the field of electric cars. Now it's a huge demand for this research in the field of electric cars. Every automotive company is making also electric models. But have we solved already the recycling of the batteries? Have we solved the problem of the rare earths and the minerals which are used to make batteries? We know that this issue of conflict minerals is the issue of the fact that the cobalt, the metals that are used to build batteries are coming from conflict regions of the world, from Africa, from countries which have huge problems. And those problems cannot be solved in 2 or 3 years. It will take time, it will take cooperation.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Winkler. And I'm so glad we were able to have this discussion on connectivity and infrastructure in Europe, but also in Romania. For all of our listeners as well, if you have any questions or comments, please send us an email at info@aer.eu or via social media at European Regions.